The version of you that's been tolerating average can't walk into 2026. If you don't change your patterns, 2026 will be a paste of every year you've struggled. But if you lock in now, if you shift your mindset, your habits, your proximity, 2026 won't just be a year. It'll be the launch pad for your legacy. The people around you are either watering your future or choking it. Every relationship in your life is either pulling you toward your assignment or dragging you away from it. That's not drama, that's discernment. And before 2026 begins, you've got to decide, do I want comfort or do I want destiny? Because you cannot have both. There are conversations you're still entertaining that are costing you clarity. There are friendships you're keeping out of habit, not alignment. And if you don't do a bold, unapologetic audit of your circle, you'll find yourself performing in rooms that have no business witnessing your process. Let me ask you something. Who has your ear? Who gets to speak into your emotions? Who can influence your decisions? Because if you're trying to build something powerful, but you're surrounded by people with small thinking, don't be surprised when your vision starts shrinking to match their fears. Some of us are so addicted to being accepted that we stay connected to what's familiar, even if it's toxic, even if it stunts us, even if it violates our future. But hear this, familiarity isn't fruitfulness. Just because they've been there doesn't mean they should stay there. Loyalty without alignment is sabotage in disguise. Before 2026 shows up, you need to stop calling it love when it's actually a leash. If they're not challenging you to grow, calling you higher, or checking you when you get off track, they're not for you. They're with you, but they're not for you, and there's a difference. You've got people who can celebrate your survival, but get silent when you start to succeed. You've got friends who loved you when you were broken, but now they feel threatened by your healing. And if you don't identify those subtle sabotages, you'll unconsciously shrink to protect someone else's insecurity. Let's be real. Some of the people closest to you have no idea who you're becoming. They only know who you've been. And if you keep letting their limited view define your identity, you'll never evolve. You'll keep playing roles that no longer match your calling. This is not about being rude. This is not about arrogance. This is about stewardship, because your calling is expensive, and it requires you to stop giving discounts to people who only pay in drama and delay. You were not born to babysit people's comfort zones. You were born to break cycles, build legacy, and move in purpose. And to do that, you've got to be okay with disappointing some people who were never designed to go the whole journey with you. There's a cost to growth, and one of the biggest costs is separation. But hear me clearly, distance is not always disloyalty. Sometimes distance is deliverance. Sometimes letting go is what frees both of you to find your real assignment. Audit your circle, who energizes you, who drains you, who multiplies your faith, who multiplies your fear, who calls you higher, who keeps you average. When you get honest about those questions, the clarity will sting, but it'll also save you. And let's talk about your habits in this area, because it's not just about cutting people off, it's about raising your relational standards. It's about deciding, from now on, I only build with people who believe in the vision even when it's invisible. From now on, I only walk with people who understand that correction is not rejection, it's protection. If you're always the smartest, strongest, or most driven person in your circle, you're not growing, you're babysitting. You need to be in rooms that stretch you, around people who expose your blind spots, with voices that don't just compliment you, but confront you when you drift from who you're called to be. Some of y'all are trying to build a future with people who only know how to survive. and then you wonder why you feel stuck. It's because your energy is being leaked in relationships that have no business riding in the same vehicle as your vision. God is not obligated to bless what you're unwilling to prune. There's a reason some doors aren't opening. It's not that you're not ready. It's that the people you're dragging with you would contaminate the room if he let you in. So do the audit, make the cuts, and don't apologize. Because this is not just about protecting your peace. This is about preserving your purpose. Before 2026 begins, make this your mantra. If it doesn't align with my assignment, it doesn't get access to my life. Your words are not just sounds, they are signals. Every word you speak is either prophesying your future or partnering with your fears. You don't just describe life with your mouth, you design it. And too many people are living in a world they don't want because they keep speaking words they don't need. If you want to change your life before 2026, you have to change your language. What's coming out of your mouth every day? Are you speaking your assignment, or are you rehearsing your anxiety? Are you repeating what God said about you, or echoing what fear keeps whispering to you? This is not motivational fluff. This is spiritual law. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and your mouth has been writing checks that your faith either cashes or cancels. There's a reason people stay stuck even when they're praying for breakthrough. Because while their hands are lifted in faith, their mouth is leaking doubt. You can't declare, "I'm more than a conqueror," in the morning and then complain about how hard life is by lunchtime. You can't cry out for abundance, then speak lack all day. That's double-mindedness, and a double-minded person is unstable in all their ways. You're not cursed. You're just contradicting yourself with your own confession. Your words are containers. They carry power. They create atmosphere. Some people walk into a room and shift it with their energy. Why? Because they've been speaking life in private. They've trained their mouth to obey faith. And when they open their mouth, things move. Doors open. Favor follows. But if all you ever talk about is what's not working, what's going wrong, who did you wrong, how tired you are, how behind you feel, you are literally building a world of defeat with the bricks of your own speech. Before 2026 gets here, you've got to master your mouth. That means no more lazy language, no more "I'm just being real" when you're actually being reckless, no more normalizing phrases like "that's just my luck," "nothing ever works for me," "I'll never get out of this," "this always happens to me." That's not harmless. It's habitual destruction. You must start speaking what you want, not what you fear. That doesn't mean you lie. That doesn't mean you deny reality. It means you prophesy truth even when facts are screaming otherwise. You say, "I am favored," even when you feel forgotten. You say, "I am strong," even when weakness tries to define you. You say, "My future is secure," even when your past is loud, because your mouth is a steering wheel, and your life follows your confession. Think about it. Every major shift in the Bible started with a word. "Let there be light," "Peace be still," "Take up your bed and walk." Miracles didn't start with motion. They started with a declaration. And if God operates through speech, what makes you think you can stay silent or sloppy with your words and expect transformation? The enemy doesn't fear your intentions. He fears your declaration. That's why he attacks your mouth. That's why he wants you tired, distracted, sarcastic, cynical. Because if he can hijack your speech, he can distort your vision. He knows that if you ever start speaking in alignment with your calling, you'll become unstoppable. So how do you master your mouth? You fill it with truth. You rehearse promises, not problems. You start your day speaking life over your mind, your finances, your body, your business, your relationship. You become deliberate about what you allow to come out of your mouth, even in casual conversations. You don't allow negativity to be your default setting. You break the addiction to complaining. You stop using humor to hide insecurity. You also monitor your self-talk, because some of the most damaging things you say aren't out loud. They're internal. That little voice in your head saying, "You're not good enough. You're too late. You don't have what it takes." You've got to confront that voice with higher truth. Not with hype, but with heavenly authority. Say what God said even when you don't feel it yet, especially when you don't feel it yet. This is the season to speak by faith, not by frustration. You're not waiting for things to look right before you speak right. You speak first, then watch things align. Your language becomes your leverage, and once your mouth gets in agreement with your assignment, momentum starts moving like never before. Don't let your mouth keep building what your prayers are trying to tear down. Master it, guard it, use it with precision, because when 2026 arrives, the ones who spoke life will be the ones living it. You don't rise to the level of your potential. You fall to the level of your patterns. Vision is powerful, but without structure, it dies in the desert of procrastination. You can't keep dreaming about the life you want and neglecting the routines that build it. If you want to see transformation before 2026, you must establish non-negotiable routines that reinforce your vision, daily habits that build momentum, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. Too many people are in love with the idea of success, but allergic to the process. They get excited about outcomes but avoid structure. They want elevation without discipline. But greatness doesn't show up in your life by accident. It's the result of systems you decide to honor when no one's watching. Your future isn't determined by what you occasionally do. It's shaped by what you consistently prioritize. The reason some people never walk into the version of themselves they know they're capable of becoming is because their habits betray their calling. They have vision, but no order. They have passion, but no practice. And without practice, passion just becomes noise. You cannot build something sacred on a schedule that's scattered. Before 2026 arrives, you've got to decide what's non-negotiable. What are the routines that align with your highest self? What are the habits that make your future inevitable? What are the small, repeated actions that build stamina, skill, and spiritual strength? Your morning is your foundation. The way you begin your day is a prophecy of how the rest of that day will unfold. If you wake up late, scroll your phone, complain about being tired, and rush into your responsibilities, don't be shocked when chaos follows you. But when you rise with intention, protect your focus, and align your thoughts with purpose, you activate favor before the world even wakes up. Non-negotiable doesn't mean rigid. It means sacred. It means you've made a decision that this part of your day is too valuable to compromise. It means you show up even when you don't feel like it, because you're no longer led by emotion. You're led by conviction, and when you are led by conviction, consistency becomes your superpower. This is not about hustling harder, it's about stewarding your energy with precision. You must know when to push, when to rest, when to study, when to connect, when to isolate, and when to reflect. That rhythm doesn't come from guessing. It comes from intentional design. You don't stumble into balance, you build it. Your routines should reinforce the identity you're stepping into. If you say you're a leader, your daily actions should reflect discipline, decision, making, and clarity. If you say you're building a business, your schedule should reveal learning, execution, and feedback. If you say you're growing spiritually, then there should be time carved out for prayer, study, silence, and worship, not as an afterthought, but as a priority. Let's be honest, what keeps most people stuck isn't lack of desire, it's inconsistency. They start strong and quit quietly. They get excited, then distracted. But if you want to separate yourself, learn to fall in love with routine, not because it's glamorous, but because it's effective. The most successful people aren't the most talented. They're the most disciplined. They do what needs to be done regardless of how they feel. That's what makes them different. The goal is not to be busy. The goal is to be aligned. You don't need to pack your day with noise. You need to structure your time around what actually matters. Simplicity is the foundation of mastery. Cut what doesn't serve the vision. Eliminate anything that drains your creativity, divides your focus, or interrupts your flow. Make space for your mind to think and your soul to breathe. One of the most powerful things you can do right now is time. Lock your values. Don't just say health matters. Schedule your workouts. Don't just say growth matters. Schedule your learning. Don't just say family matters. Schedule that dinner, because what doesn't make your calendar doesn't shape your life. If it's not scheduled, it's optional, and optional things rarely produce extraordinary outcomes. When you build your day around discipline, life starts to cooperate with your vision, doors open, clarity increases, confidence rises, not because of luck, but because of alignment. And alignment is never accidental, it's intentional. So as you prepare for 2026, remember, your future isn't waiting on another dream. It's waiting on your decisions. Decide what routines matter most. Decide what version of yourself you want to reinforce. Then build your days like your destiny depends on it, because it does. Motivation is a spark, but mastery is the fire that keeps burning long after the crowd stops cheering. If you're serious about changing your life before 2026, you must go beyond hype. You must graduate from being inspired to being equipped, because motivation gets you started, but mastery gets you results. Too many people are addicted to feeling good. They chase the next video, the next quote, the next emotional high. They love inspiration but avoid implementation, and the problem is, while they're getting fired up, someone else is getting focused. While they're chasing vibes, someone else is chasing skills. And when 2026 shows up, it won't reward who was the most hyped, it'll reward who was the most prepared. Let's make this plain. The market does not pay you for your potential. It pays you for your mastery. Your family will not benefit from your intentions. They will benefit from your execution. Heaven will not promote you because you felt called. You'll be promoted when you prove faithful. Faithful in study, faithful in practice, faithful in growth. So many people are sitting on dreams they never developed. They keep praying for opportunities they're not even ready to steward. They want visibility without value. They want platforms without preparation, but God doesn't elevate you to impress you. He elevates you to use you, and if you're not skilled in your assignment, your platform will become your prison. This is the season to invest in mastery. That means reading when others are relaxing. That means studying your craft while others scroll. That means getting in rooms that stretch you, not just rooms that celebrate you. Comfort never births greatness. Growth requires tension. You can't sharpen a sword on a pillow. Think about it. Every champion you admire didn't get there by chance. They practiced when it wasn't popular. They trained when it wasn't trending. They submitted to mentors. They paid for access. They asked questions. They made mistakes. But they never stopped learning. That's what separates masters from amateurs. Consistency, commitment, curiosity. It's time to put your money where your mission is. If you can afford entertainment, you can afford education. If you can afford distraction, you can afford development. Stop saying you're serious about your future, but refusing to invest in it. Buy the course, hire the coach, read the book, join the program, not because it's trendy, but because your future demands a higher version of you. And let's be clear, mastery isn't just about talent, it's about discipline. It's about doing the hard, boring, invisible work that no one applauds. It's about training your mind, mastering your emotions, refining your approach. It's about choosing progress over perfection and growth over ego. Because you can't be great and fragile at the same time, you've got to be teachable. Don't confuse activity with mastery. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're getting better. Busyness is not productivity. Doing more doesn't equal becoming more. The real question is, are you moving with purpose? Are you building real skill? Are you deepening your understanding? Are you becoming excellent in your lane? Excellence is not an act. It's a habit. It's doing the best you can with what you have every time until the ceiling becomes the floor. Excellence multiplies your impact. It builds trust. It opens doors you won't have to knock on. Because when you become undeniable in your gift, you don't have to beg for room. Your name gets brought up in rooms you didn't even know existed. But that kind of excellence takes investment. It takes humility. It takes time. It takes patience. And most of all, it takes focus. You cannot master what you keep quitting on. You cannot become world class at something you only commit to when it's convenient. Mastery doesn't visit the lazy. It rewards the relentless. If you're tired of repeating the same cycles year after year, the answer is not more motivation. It's mastery. It's learning what works, doing it until it sticks, becoming so skilled in your assignment that people feel your presence before you even speak. That kind of power doesn't come from hype. It comes from hard, holy work. So, as 2026 approaches, decide now, will I keep chasing the feeling, or will I build the foundation? Will I keep needing to be motivated? Or will I become someone who moves with mastery no matter what? The people who shift history are not the loudest. They are the most disciplined, and that can excuses are not innocent. They're not harmless. They are weapons, sharp enough to kill your momentum, sabotage your calling, and bury your potential under layers of comfort and delay. Every time you make an excuse, you reinforce a story that says, "This is all I'm capable of." And if you don't kill that story, it will keep you comfortable and stuck. We all carry a story, a narrative that we repeat in our mind. I didn't have the right background. I don't have enough time. I'm not ready yet. I don't know where to start. These stories sound logical, but logic can't always lead when destiny is calling. The path to greatness will often be inconvenient, uncomfortable, and unfair, but it's still possible. And if you keep telling yourself why you can't, you'll never prove to yourself that you can. Excuses are not the problem. They're the symptom. They grow in the soil of fear, doubt, trauma, and hesitation. They give you a reason to stay where it's safe, where you're unchallenged, where nothing is required of you but to survive. But comfort zones are where purpose goes to die. What you call comfort is actually captivity, because anything that keeps you from becoming who you were born to be is not safe. It's a cage. The most dangerous excuses are not the loud ones. It's not always "I can't." It's the subtle ones. The disguised ones, the ones that sound wise. This just isn't the right time. I'm waiting on a sign. I'm being patient. But let's be honest. Most of the time, that's not patience. That's procrastination in disguise. That's fear dressed up in spiritual language. You don't need more time. You need more courage. You don't need another confirmation. You need conviction. Because while you're waiting for perfect conditions, Someone else with half your talent and twice your discipline is out there building, executing, and winning. One of the hardest truths to swallow is this: your excuse might be valid, but it's still costing you. You really might have been hurt. You might have grown up disadvantaged. You might be facing challenges that others don't see. But none of that changes your responsibility. You're still called. You're still gifted. You're still accountable for what you do with what you've been given. Excuses don't excuse you from purpose. They only delay your participation in it. There comes a point where you have to get so sick of your own story that you tear it down and build a new one. One that says, I'm not what happened to me, I'm what I decide to become. One that says, I'm not here to manage pain, I'm here to multiply purpose. Because until you change your internal narrative, your external reality will keep recycling. Your comfort will beg you to stay average. Your comfort will try to convince you that doing just enough is noble, but purpose requires disruption. It demands you break agreements with limitation. It calls you out of the boat. And if you're not willing to kill the excuse that's keeping you warm, you'll never walk on the water where transformation lives. Excuses rob you of urgency. They let you believe you have more time than you do. But you don't. The clock is ticking, the window is narrowing, and every time you delay, you pay a price. A price in lost opportunities, wasted years, diminished confidence, and postponed blessings. Not because you weren't chosen, but because you chose comfort over calling. So what's the excuse that's keeping you comfortable? Be honest. Call it out. Give it a name. Then snatch its power away, because you can't defeat what you're still defending. You can't kill what you're still cuddling. You've got to confront it, challenge it, reject it. Tell yourself the truth, even if it hurts. This excuse is not protecting me. It's poisoning me. You weren't created for comfort. You were created for impact. You were wired to build, to lead, to rise, to dominate in your domain. But that version of you doesn't live inside your excuses. That version is only accessed through faith, grit, and surrender. Not surrender to fear, but to the future God's been trying to get you to walk into. When you finally kill the excuse, freedom shows up. Clarity returns. Energy comes back. Discipline becomes easier, and purpose begins to unfold, not because life got easier, but because you got braver. You got honest. You stopped hiding behind the story, and you stepped into the assignment. And that's what it will take before 2026. Kill the excuse, and you'll wake up to the life that's been waiting on the other side of your obedience. Ask ChatGPT, you said. 6. Align with heaven's pace. Move with faith, not frenzy expanded in a 750 words, but don't add subtitle and conclusion, ChatGPT said. There is a difference between movement and progress. There is a difference between hustle and alignment. Some people are running fast but going nowhere, building more but becoming less. In a world obsessed with urgency, speed, and hustle culture, there's a divine discipline that too many people overlook: alignment with heaven's pace. Heaven is not rushed. God is never frantic. He doesn't operate on the timeline of pressure, panic, or popularity. He operates on purpose. He's not driven by the noise of the crowd. He's anchored in eternal timing. And if you want to experience true success, fruit that lasts, peace that stays, purpose that multiplies, you must learn to move with faith, not frenzy. Frenzy will have you saying yes to everything and being excellent at nothing. It will have you overbooked, overwhelmed, and undernourished, busy building what God never told you to touch. But faith waits, faith listens, faith discerns. Faith doesn't just act, it aligns. Faith understands that a delay is not a denial. It's often divine protection. When you move by faith, you don't chase trends. You don't chase applause. You don't even chase success. You follow assignment. You move at the speed of obedience, not the speed of insecurity. You do what you're called to do when you're called to do it, even if it doesn't make sense in the moment. Because you're not building for likes, you're building for legacy. One of the most dangerous decisions you can make is to move fast just to prove something, to prove you're not behind, to prove you're successful, to prove you're valuable. But if you're constantly trying to validate your worth through performance, you'll find yourself exhausted, anxious, and always one step away from burnout. That's not faith. That's fear wearing a productivity badge. You don't need to hustle to earn what God already assigned to you. What's for you won't pass you if you're walking in obedience. The doors you're meant to walk through won't need force. They'll open with favor. That doesn't mean you sit idle. It means you stop grinding from a place of lack and start building from a place of trust. Faith is not passive, it's precise. Faith is not lazy, it's led. When you move with heaven, there's a peace that follows your pace. You're not anxious because you know who sent you. You're not in a rush because you know he's already gone before you. You're not chasing outcomes. You're stewarding instructions. When you operate from frenzy, you become reactive. You say yes when you should say no. You make moves based on what looks good, not what is good. You move to keep up appearances rather than staying in alignment with your assignment. And eventually, that pace will wear you down. Because frenzy costs more than time. It costs clarity, creativity, and confidence. Alignment, on the other hand, creates momentum without burnout. When you're in sync with God's timing, you'll find grace for the grind. You'll find energy in the execution. You'll hear instructions others miss. You'll move smoother with fewer mistakes, not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. Before 2026 arrives, you must ask yourself, am I building out of pressure or out of purpose? Am I moving because I'm anxious or because I'm anointed? Do I trust that what God starts, He finishes? Or am I still acting like it's all on me? Heaven's pace doesn't always look impressive at first. It might seem slow, it might seem hidden, it might feel like everyone else is passing you. But when God builds something, He builds it to last. And while others are crashing under the weight of things they were never called to carry, you'll still be standing, strong, steady, and secure. Don't let culture's clock make you doubt divine timing. Don't let someone else's break through rush your process. Your story has its own timeline, and when you surrender to that, you stop striving and start soaring. You stop competing and start creating. You stop proving and start producing. This is the season to slow down and sync up, to be still enough to hear, to be disciplined enough to wait, to be bold enough to move when God says move, and still enough to pause when He says pause. Because what you're building isn't just for a year, it's for generations. When you align with heaven's pace, the pressure lifts, the fear subsides, the vision becomes clear, and you walk not in frenzy, but in faith, not in anxiety, but in authority, not in panic, but in peace. And that kind of pace, it doesn't just build success, it builds significance.